Ranking member attacks the work of this committee while at the same time saying it's great that these two directors were forced to resign because there were highly embarrassing disclosures, so the system worked. These highly embarrassing disclosures. Madam Chair, did they arrive out of thin air? Were they presented to us by a demigod? No. These disclosures arose because of the work of our chair, Maxine Waters, the chair of the subcommittee, Al Green, and the Democratic staff. And had we continued the hear no evil, see no evil approach that this committee had the prior Congress, these embarrassing disclosures would never have come out, and these embarrassing board members would still be on your board. But regardless of the outrage, we cannot allow the outrages of the past to blind us to the crisis of the present. We've got a coronavirus. People are afraid. The economic system could get better, could get worse. Not only do we have a coronavirus, we have a sudden decline in oil prices that are shaking up the markets, and the fact that we have two problems doesn't immunize us from a third or a fourth thing happening. In fact, your bank has done stress tests to look at other things that could hit our economy. You've got a plan put in place 7 months ago to send $31.4 billion out of your capital and to your shareholders. You don't know, I don't know what this coronavirus is going to do to the world economy. You may not be too big to manage, you may be, but you are certainly too big to fail. Mr. Scharf, can you commit to this committee that you will suspend dividends and stock buybacks until we know what this coronavirus is going to do to the world's economy and to the solvency of your bank?
Congressman, we do a stress test, as you are aware, which puts all of the banks...
I'm aware of that, but that stress test was for some other stress happening, which could happen, and you have two stresses already. So you've done a stress test, but you haven't done a stress test where the other calamity occurs in the middle of a coronavirus that's infecting the entire world. So your stress test, we already have the stress. You haven't done a double stress test. You're too big to fail. You've injured our economy by the practices that we're here to discuss in this committee. Do you want to do something good for the country and commit to ending stock buybacks and dividends until we know what the coronavirus is going to do to your bank's solvency?
Congressman, we're committed to...
Yes or no? I have limited time. Yes or no?
Congressman, we're going to run the bank the way we think is prudent with our regulators.
In other words, you're having dealt harshly with consumers in the past, you're going to do nothing to insulate our economy and our society from the possible meltdown of the bank. Carolyn Maloney, you ripped off consumers. Carolyn Maloney has her Overdraft Protection Act, which would protect consumers. You have substantial lobbying power, brilliant lobbyists who have represented you. Will you commit that they will be lobbying starting tomorrow for Carolyn Maloney's Overdraft Protection Act? Do you want to do something? Do you want to be on the right side of history? And this is not a trick question. I asked your predecessor's predecessor this almost a year ago today, and we told your people this was coming.
Congressman, we announced 2 new accounts recently. One that has no overdraft protection.
I didn't ask that. You're repeating exactly what your resigned predecessor said. Will you commit the lobbying power of your bank to work for the Overdraft Protection Act? Yes or no?
Congressman, I will commit that we will support the types of accounts that we just announced.
But that does not mean that you will work for legislation pending designed to protect consumers from unreasonable overdraft protection or the phony ordering of the checks that clear on a particular day to disadvantage the consumer. Finally, will you enforce the arbitration provisions in your contracts, even as to the phony accounts where the consumer never signed them for that account?
Congressman, we were able to settle our sales practice matters.
So settled mostly. What about the ones that are still pending?
Where there's arbitration, we'll continue to pursue it, but it's something that we certainly will continue to look at.
But you'll bar people from court. I thank you.
The gentleman from Missouri,